Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Canadian Football Central, CFL content for the fans, by the fans, and we got a bit of an interesting video today as Randy Ambrosie, CFL Commissioner, will be stepping down at the end after Grey Cup this year. However, it's going to be, or I shouldn't say after Grey Cup, he's going to be stepping down sometime next year. It's just he has started the process for them to look for a replacement as CFL Commissioner, and then he'll then formally step down and they will have that turnaround. And without further ado, before we go further into the video, make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell, helps out the channel a ton. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, give us 5 stars, helps us out a ton. Now, I'm not sure when we're putting this video out, Rick. Probably Thursday, I imagine. This is probably...
Well, you asked me. You're the one that releases the video on YouTube.
No, I'm just trying to think mentally in my head, so I can't remember. I don't know exactly when we'll put this out. We're actually...
Listen, I just put it up on Spotify. That's all that I do.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm putting this up on... we're recording.
Carter's like, oh, Rick, it's up. The video's out. Go put it up on Spotify. Okay, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're recording this on Tuesday, so maybe, who knows, maybe information change. I can't imagine any new information comes out, though, before we release this. So, a bit of an interesting thing, as Randy Ambrosie, he took over the job in 2017 in the CFL and has been serving and is the 4th longest serving commissioner in league history at over 7 years. And then so what we have here is, according to reports, his departure comes after a vote by the Board of Governors demonstrated there was not a unanimous support for renewing his contract. So it looks like some teams were in favor of Randy Ambrosie and some were not. Rick, what is your thoughts on this?
So you got to remember, so there's some plus, some negative.
Yep.
During his 7 years.
Definitely. I'll put it this way. I don't think he has quite the reputation of, say, like a Gary Bettman in terms of being pretty...
everyone booing him? No.
Everyone hates Gary Bettman. I think Randy Ambrosie... Passion. I think everyone's impression of Randy Ambrosie is... in the sense of that he's not... Like, I think people will have a particular issue with the way the Chad Kelly situation was handled by Randy Ambrosie. I think most of that falls on the Toronto Argonauts themselves, as I think they were a lot more direct with it. However, I can totally see how the CFL had some mismanagement, and Randy Ambrosie had some mismanagement of that. But all in all, like, for the majority of his tenure, it's just been kind of... hasn't really done as much for the CFL as I think we would have wanted, and there's a few key things there, but
depends on how you look at it, because you think about it, we now have, I don't know what Thompson's pocket bank's like, but look at BC.
We have brought some life into teams that were losing it. Fair enough.
Yes. I wouldn't really say attendance. I mean, attendance is still...
Yeah, when I say brought some life, I mean in the sense of that things are looking up with teams that were looking down before.
He brought in the global draft.
Yep.
Here's my kind of downfall with my thoughts. Where he loses all respect for me as the 10th team, like, you're either going to bring it or you don't, and then just squash it. If you're not going to bring it into the league, squash it.
Yeah, that's definitely. I think that's definitely kind of being a staple of his tenure in the later years, is that he was very adamant about adding a 10th team to the Canadian Football League, and it just never happened. And I don't think people's issue is being whether it's happened or whether it hasn't, is that Randy Ambrosie has beat around the bush every single time, in the sense of, oh, we want it, but maybe, oh, there's interest, but maybe not. And so it's one of those things where it's like, if you don't have it, maybe say we are interested. However, currently at this time, there are certain circumstances that are not met, and leave it like that. Make a blank statement, have it be very cut and dry. If expansion is going to happen, it was the Atlantic Schooners coming into the league that they were looking at for the longest time. Don't announce that until you got concrete plans. And I think COVID definitely hurt. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
A whole year gone from the CFL, I think, hurts his tenure. As much as I don't necessarily think that's his fault when it comes to just the situation in the world and how difficult that was, and that the CFL was not in a financial situation, or not in a financial situation like the NFL and the NHL, where as much as they don't want to lose millions of dollars, they can afford to lose tons of money and they'll still be profitable. Whereas with the CFL, the profit margins are a bit thinner, and so it was just it'd be a lot more difficult to manage that. But at the end of the day, we lost an entire season, and a lot of people were upset about that, myself included.
This next year is going to be a huge year.
Yeah.
Because 2025 is the last year of the TSN TV deal. So whoever is going to be the commissioner,
yeah,
they have a lot of stuff to
that's big.
Deal with. That's the biggest thing I think is on the chopping block.
TV deal? Absolutely. No.
Because now you have Sportsnet. Sportsnet just paid how many billions for MLSE?
Yeah.
So now Bell Media got all that money. You don't think Bell Media is gonna? Well, okay, because now
and this year now with CTV getting some games, I wouldn't be surprised if CTV tries to make more of a splash to get CFL back. Because
CTV is owned by Bell.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But I mean the last TV deal that was agreed upon in 2019 was a 6-year deal that runs through 2025. That pays the league $50 million a year.
Yeah.
So you figure, okay, so they got to renegotiate that TV deal. Then whichever TV station gets it, you now have to go out and hire a panel people to do it. Who's gonna do
if
it?
If it's TSN, they'll just do kind of. It'll be same old.
But the thing is,
if it's not,
no, I honestly think that if you re-up with TSN, you're going to be bringing in some new blood into the panel.
Yeah, I think there'll be some adjustments, although I'm not going to lie, I think the panel has actually been one of the strongest things they've had.
No, but I mean, okay, so within the last year or two, Mwamba's joined it. Marshall Ferguson's being a play-by-play guy.
Yeah.
Nielsen went from, I think, you guys in the Jets, if I'm not mistaken, to the CFL. No?
I'm trying to remember. I can't remember.
I know he did something with Winnipeg. I know it wasn't just CFL. But then
I know they had lost Sarah Orleski to the Jets. From the CFL to the Jets.
Yeah, but then they got John Liu from Montreal to go to Winnipeg. That's true. I mean... And then there's also salary cap's going to be going up.
Yep.
You have the collecting and bargaining agreement.
I was about to say, I know the CBA is coming up. I'm not going to lie. If you're the CFL, if you're doing a TV deal, I think you're looking at a minimum of another 6 years in your next TV deal. If you can get 8 or 10, that would be really nice. I think having that security would be good. I don't know. I think it's good if you're able to get even if you get, like, you don't want less than 6 years. Get a 6-year deal. Give yourself time to build some of these franchises up a bit more. Get the attendance better. Get the television audience better, and then by the time you renegotiate that, you can look for a little bit of bump. So one question I have with you, Rick, is based on the numbers, maybe pre the last negotiated TV deal, and the numbers that the CFL was pulling in annually in terms of viewership. Do you think that they'll get a little bit of bump up from 50 million? Do you think they'll stay at the 50 million mark, or do you think that the CFL, heaven forbid, actually has to take in less?
Just before I go into that, so from with what I'm reading right now,
Yeah.
I don't believe that the CBA expires until 28 because
Yeah.
there's the salary cap that goes up. But
Yeah.
to answer your question, I'm gonna say that it goes up a little bit because now you figure if TSN, let's just think about this for a second. TSN loses CFL. What do they have? The odd Leaf game,
They
the
have
odd Raptor game.
Winnipeg Jets on TSN.
No, but I mean,
It's
like
not even all their
for,
games.
but that's also in your guys' area, so there could be blackouts affected. So I mean, it's like, what do they have? Okay, they have NFL, but they're using other stations feeds, so they don't have much. Curling, golf.
You're thinking that TSN should really make a push because this is really what they got.
Because now you think about it, the owner of oh, what the heck is his name? The guy that just bought Montreal over
I can't
in
remember his name.
Montreal. His TV station rivals with RDS, and RDS is the French version of TSN. So you can bet he's going to be pushing for Montreal TV rights.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's going to be interesting.
So you
But to
said they
go back
negotiated this deal in
after this
19?
year, yeah. So 2019 is when they last did it, and it was only a 6-year deal. But to go back to some of these interesting numbers. So after, let me see. I'm trying to see what it goes up this.
I'm just trying to see a year by year. CFL.
So the salary cap goes up 100,000 this year because it just went up 75,000 this past year. So this upcoming year, it's going up to 100,000. So they will.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if they get any bump because if I'm looking here at the ratings, at least this is just week one, year by year. If we look at 2019, right when they signed that deal, total average was 523,000 viewers. And when you include the French viewers, that'd be 558,000. And if you look at most recent, 2024, they have lost around 50,000 down to 473. However, with French viewership, they go up to 519. So about 30,000 less than. So their French viewership actually has been a bit more consistent, less drop, I'd say, than their English viewership. But it is a drop since 2019. At least that was just week one. I wish I could just get I wish I could just get one kind of big number. However, I will say if we're looking here, another important thing to consider.
I was gonna say, if you go to, who is it on Twitter? It's.
I did have a stat though here.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
So there's a few things. This was actually a comment made on a Argo fan forum. A guy had given some numbers, and he had linked 3 Down Nation in here. For the CFL season, CFL ratings are down almost 5%, and only 4 of the first 14 weeks, because that was when this comment was made, have actually surpassed 2023. But the thing that also I wonder about is, this is, I guess, what some people have been talking about, is whether with now some leagues and whatnot moving to streaming, with NHL having some stuff on Prime, NBA with a massive deal with Amazon Prime, and they're now on Prime, WWE moving to Netflix, does the CFL dare actually consider a streaming service? Now the thing is that I would actually, to be honest, I kind of doubt it in the sense of that I think that with all these bigger leagues moving to streaming, I think that actually gives the CFL an opportunity with standard cable. CFL has always been on standard cable, and I think these big streaming services that have these big pockets, they're looking for the big leagues, the big money deals. As the CFL, obviously, it's $50 million, but it's nothing when you compare it to the billions of dollars the NBA is making, that the WWE is making, that the NHL is well, not
But
they wouldn't have
the
billions because they're not getting all of it. But if they got the entire NHL, they'd be getting upwards of at least $1 billion, and definitely more than that. And so,
yeah, I was
I
gonna say
realistically see them
the
staying on standard cable on either TSN or Sportsnet. I actually think renewing with TSN is probably the most likely outcome here. But I wouldn't even be surprised if TSN's like, listen, we'll give you the same deal, but like we need this trend to kind of start turning around a little. What is this new commissioner, this new vision going to do to grow the game? As I think that is quite crucial because
and
down
so
5% just from
my
last year is not great.
so my other thing is this isn't even to do with the whole Chad Kelly thing. I'm just saying in general, we need to stop having like a soft commissioner and just like have one where they will throw the book at people.
Yeah, no, well, they need that, and they need it. They need honestly, I think they need someone a bit bold. I think they need someone to come in and just kind of be like, this is what I'm gonna do. This is the plan, and we're gonna get things moving. Um,
Not only that, but they need to look into the younger.
they need to
Um,
get the younger generation, and that has
yes.
been an issue with the
Oh,
CFL for a bit, and that is doable. I think I think Winnipeg has actually done very very well with their
I
young
just
generations and getting
I just thought of an
um,
idea.
their teams involved with high schools and whatnot. But yeah,
I just thought of an idea, but I gotta see what the schedule would be.
yeah,
So I'm gonna run this idea by you. Let me know what you think.
I do have some good
Because I
news after you read this out.
so here's what I'm thinking. Okay, so you have what Thursday to Friday? Sorry, Thursday to Sunday, or is it Thursday to Saturday? Games during the summer, and then
It's Thursday through Sunday because they'll do one Thursday game, one Friday, one Saturday, one Sunday, and
okay.
then the
Well, anyways,
exception of Labor Day, they'll play a game on Monday. That's it.
so here's my theory. Why don't you work in some type of deal where you have the CIS have a game of the week on TSN so that you can get more eyes on the CIS brand and people will know who up and coming players are for the draft and include that into um the different cups, the top cup in Quebec, the one out west.
Sorry about that. We had a little bit of a tech issue, also known as
Carter doesn't know how to do things on his
Rick
end.
was screwing around with his headset, and I thought that Rick was having an issue because I was wondering why he couldn't hear me. But then I realized it was because I muted my mic because I coughed, and I muted it because I didn't want to have a loud spike right in the middle of the video. And then afterwards, we start recording this again, and then I accidentally on my end had Rick's mic muted. So yeah, just a bit of a calamity of errors. But yes, the CIS recording that on TSN. Rick, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of have my doubts on whether they do that. I realistically see if they were to accept that, they would probably have that on like a TSN Plus sort of a thing. Uh, would I spend my hard-earned money on that? Probably not. But I know you did mention a decent point in the footage that we had to cut because there was an issue. If you can mention it again.
Yeah, it's just like use other information that you have, and like the CFL preseason, you don't send anyone else down. You use their feed, their audio, and you say, okay, well, your school can get, so much revenue because we're putting you in this time slot. And so be it. Like, you have to add something because the CIS football brings up future CFL players.
Yeah, no, I agree.
You got to do something. And then on top of it, if, and this is a big if, the UFL doesn't go beyond this year, you're gonna have tons of players that are gonna come either up, most likely up here. So now you have to, you gotta, besides, okay, and we forgot one other thing. Don't forget he brought in CFL Plus too.
Yeah, and actually, I think that was probably one of the most positive things he brought in. I think CFL Plus, because I think a complaint, because the thing is that CFL Plus, it's free outside of Canada for jurisdictions that do not have a TV deal, also known as basically everywhere in the world with the exception of the U.S. Some of the games are televised down there. So pretty much any game that's not televised in the United States through a cable deal is done through CFL Plus and is completely free. And I think that's wonderful. I think if you're trying to gain exposure, that's exactly how you want to do it. You want to get as many eyeballs on your product while still keeping the revenue up in Canada.
There was a thing that I seen earlier this year.
I think one thing that the CFL has really started to get a lot better at, and I think they should try to expand on this more, is I think they've done a very good job at their social media presence. I think it's gotten considerably better. However, if you renew with TSN, there's one big thing I think they missed the market on. One of the biggest crews with the young generation with TSN is the Bar Down crew. It is. And you can have whatever opinions you want. I know Corwin is no longer there. I know Luca Celebre is still there. I know Jesse Pollock is still there. But they do well with the youth. Their videos on YouTube have honestly killed it. Their social media presence, they gain the viewership, whether you like them or not. Just because I know some of them, people are iffy, and I know Jesse Pollock and Winnipeg Jets fan is a little bit polarizing, and the sense of some people love him, some people hate him. Whatever your opinion is, they get eyeballs. They get views. And they've done a little bit with the CFL. They did a challenge video thing with Milt Stegall. And it did well. Why isn't there way more of that? If you renew with TSN, I think you need to take advantage of that. Because that gets young eyeballs on the product. And you need to keep that up. I think realistically, I think they need to up the I think teams need to up the advertising. Like, Rick, when you're in Winnipeg, how many friggin' Bomber posters did you see all over our city?
Yeah, but that's basically up to the owners, though.
I know. But I think the CFL should be, I think whoever's commissioner should be pushing for that.
And not only that, like, I get that CFL
and even just CFL marketing just in general on other TSN broadcast. Like, in the sense of they'll do the amount of times where they'll advertise the next hockey game or this or that, they'll almost never advertise the next CFL game. Not much. There's a little bit, sure. But
what I was gonna say was, for the draft, instead of having the first 3 rounds on TV and then you have to go to TSN Plus to get the other 5, just have the whole have 8 rounds on TV. How long is 8 rounds gonna take? 3 hours?
So you could do that, or honestly, it might have you could try to do the whole thing on television like that. But I actually wonder if it may do a lot better through something like YouTube. Honestly, the whole draft on something like YouTube, because when it comes to realistically, when is this draft normally happening? 1 p.m. on a Tuesday?
No, it's more like 7 o'clock on a Friday.
Is it really?
Yeah,
I don't know. I remember in prior years being too busy, being busy when the draft was going on.
No, so it's May 5th every year, around then. So if you want to watch it on YouTube, Justin Dunk and JC do like a.
I know. I'm saying is that I think that the way the direction the CFL needs to go is to market in ways that can attract younger
Oh,
fans. And
the
so what
other
I'm saying is social media and YouTube does well with younger generations,
the other thing that they need to
and
bring
it's
back
readily
that
accessible.
the other thing that they need to bring back that I think a lot of people got really liked was the what is it called? The pre-draft workouts, where they go do the bench press and the 40-yard dash and
Oh, like the combine?
combine. Yeah, bring that back. Because a few years they didn't do it, and then I think last year they did. Bring that back every year.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fair. No, I just if the UFL sticks around, I think they should look to some sort of joint TV deal in the sense of possibly being able to find a way to broadcast some CFL down south and maybe the UFL get some broadcasting in Canada. I think that would be smart, something mutually beneficial in that regard.
The other thing that I was thinking is, oh no, I forget what I was gonna. I was thinking something. Now I can't remember what I was gonna say now. Oh, have more content out there. Like if you have like the whole rivalry. You remember that big rivalry video, the kind of like the mini New Year's Eve that the NHL usually does, where you can go like behind the scenes and see like games like up to the 24/7 series.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not
We
gonna
had
lie.
that. We had that this year, last year with the Ticats in Toronto. Have something like that where you can get more content out.
Yeah, I think the CFL has made great pushes in their social media game, but I don't think the job is finished. I think they need to keep going further and further and further and pushing and doing more and more and more. I think some stuff like the waggle is good. I think they should expand if they go to TSN again. I think they should expand their content with the Bar Down crew. Possibly even can have if they bring on maybe more of almost like a CFL version of the Bar Down crew per se for TSN and had their own kind of young, lively, like a panel of it. Because essentially, all the Bar Down crew is essentially people that are in kind of in Crecom, in like creative communications, in broadcasting that are a lot younger, a part of this new generation. That are really and their target audience is really like early teenagers to young adults in mid 20s, that sort of thing. That is the target audience. That's why whenever they turn the TV on, it's one of those things where me and my buddies, we know who all these guys are, and my dad's like, who the hell is this, and so but that's fine in the sense of that you're not getting in the way of the standard panel that you have on your TSN games and whatnot, but you're allowing this other content to exist that can bring in those young fans. And I think one of the things that when you have the perception of this old fan base and then you go to the panel and it's a bunch of old guys or whatever, plus Kate, it kind of has this perception that is what it is. And then you have Glenn Suter yelling at the clouds or whatever the hell he does on broadcasts, and then but you don't have, it's like, if you're trying to market this to younger people, but you don't see any younger people. It's one of those things where, kids, they need something that they can relate to. If it's just gonna be an old guy talking about how back in his time the CFL was great with this X, Y, and Z, I think having, like people around my age, I'm not saying me, but people around my age promoting this sort of content. That's why I've always really liked the work that we've been doing on Canadian Football Central. And I love the fact that the CFL is now bringing in some community creators. I want to give a big shout out to Coach Phil, who we had on for the Saskatchewan episode, and now he's working with the CFL, bringing content from the sidelines and whatnot, as he now has a full media pass for pretty much, I think, almost any CFL game, and he's doing some work like that with them. I think that's it, absolutely the correct way that the CFL needs to go, and I think they just need to double down on that and keep going.
I forget. I was gonna bring up another thing. Oh, here's one. Have an all-star game.
Yeah, honestly, I'd love that. Just a
East
simple
versus West.
just an East-West, and just for fun.
I don't know how
We
Rider
keep
fans.
doing the all-star teams. We keep learning who makes these teams just to never see them play.
Could you imagine that though? Riders and Winnipeg on the same team, and Hamilton and Toronto on the
Oh
same
God,
team.
yeah. Oh, I know a big thing. Make more jerseys. Seriously, jerseys sell like hotcakes. People love
Okay.
them.
First
More
off,
specialty jerseys. Those indigenous
hold on with
logos.
that idea.
Get their own set of jerseys for those.
To a certain extent.
I'm not saying
Where
come
pe-
up with 16 jerseys a year.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you're gonna come out with jerseys, price them like down to earth prices.
Reasonable pricing. Yeah, I think realistically, right around where the pricing is for jerseys.
And I'm
right now.
I'm not even talking about like because if you go to East Coast, you have a completely different price than West Coast. I'm saying same price across the whole league, no matter what.
I also
province
think a big thing that they really should start doing is kind of like what the NHL did when they had their agreement with Adidas, which is where you had two different lines of jerseys, where you had the expensive jerseys for the fans that were hardcore, that were willing to pay more, and you had a cheaper line of jerseys that that maybe some of the more casual fans that didn't want to drop $200 on a jersey could get their favorite player on a jersey, and even though it was lesser quality, it was enough for them. I think they realistically, I think they should invest in fashion jerseys in that regard, and I think they would. I think they would do well.
One
Especially
thing
with
that
a
I
younger,
want to
like,
see,
kind of casual fan base.
one thing that I kind of want to see in the next CBA
Mhm.
is the jersey sales half go to the team, half the sale goes to the player.
They would never agree to that. Half to the player would be way too high.
Or at least something to the player.
Yeah, that's I disagree in the sense of I do not think that 50% of a jersey's profit should go to the player. Realistically, I think if all players made 5% commission, I think that would be reasonable.
Yeah, but even 5% peanuts, nothing.
Yeah, see, or even 10. I don't know. I don't know what the exact number is, but it's not 50%. They'll never do that. Anything close to that. But I mean, I'll put it this way. I think anything 25%, and because you have to look. I'll put it this way, Rick. Think of it this way. If you think of a salesman, okay, a salesman that's selling couches, the absolute most they make is 5% commission. That is absolute highest.
But if you think about it, okay, jerseys, depending on where you get the jersey, in Ontario, jerseys are only like $215. 5% of that is less than $100.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, but here's the thing, Rick. My argument against 50. It's not that I wouldn't like players to make that money. I actually would. I'm just saying is that in my opinion, the CFL is not a league that is profitable enough at this point to be able to afford that.
I mean,
because I'll put it this way, Rick, I would rather they raise the salary cap significantly. You know what I mean? Because I think the net benefit to players would actually be a lot. Because here's the thing. Currently, CFL players essentially have I think some players maybe make commission, but there's no league-wide standard in the sense of if you get a custom jersey with a player's info and it wasn't a pre-made jersey for that player, he makes nothing.
I realize that. That's why I said that.
I know. But here's the thing. You can't go from 0 to 50%. They would never agree to that. I think if you start with 5%, maybe 10 or something like that, and just just get it on the board, and then we can talk about moving that number up or down.
Or put it in their contract, like if you play this well, you get this amount, percentage of your sales.
Yeah, but I think they pretty much already have that in terms of some of the more well-known players making commission in that regard. I'm just saying a league-wide minimum commission 5%. All players.
Because if you really think about it, right now when TSN gives their portion or the 50 million to the team, that's the salary cap for each team.
Yep.
So you're trying to tell me that each team doesn't make... Well, now they have that stupid extra money that they can spend freely. So obviously the league's making money if they throw that in there.
Yeah.
So you're trying to tell me that they can't fork out a little bit extra money for players for jersey cost?
Yeah, no, I'm again, I want to make this very clear. I am not opposed to players making commission. I think they absolutely should. I'm saying if you come out of the gate guns a-blazing looking for 50% commission, I think it's a lot more likely that you end up with zero commission rather than ending, because I think if you try to ask for 5% commission, I think you maybe get that. If you look for 50% and they're going through the negotiating, realistically, that probably gets scrapped off there and you don't end up with anything.
Okay, well, maybe not 50%, but you get my point. Because if they go and offer Rorik friggin', what was it, 150,000 just to friggin', oh, here, you got to go out to the media, go out in public for X amount of times, you could use that money and be paying friggin' your players money for sold jerseys.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Which is why I think realistically the ballpark for negotiating commission ranges probably anywhere between 3% on the low end and 25% on the high end, although even then I doubt they'd agree to that.
But also,
I realistically see if they were to accept a deal in that regard, I think it would go between 3 and 10%. I don't want to go too much longer with this, but one thing here, actually, I have a big proposal here. Okay, Rick?
Okay.
What is one thing that is big in almost every other sport league, and in terms of major sports leagues, and the CFL hardly does any of this? Cards. They make CFL cards, but it is easy to forget about that. And you can't... CFL, Upper Deck CFL cards should be available in every single team store. The fact that they're not is dumb. Seriously. There should be multiple different sets. So first of all, every single team store should sell individual packs, $10 a pack, league-wide. They should also sell boxes, $105 for a box, league-wide. They should also sell team-specific packs. A lot of leagues do this, like the NHL. You go to a Jets game, you can buy a pack of hockey cards for the Jets, and it's all Jets players. They should do that in every team, maybe $10, $12 if you want to go up maybe a little bit, whatever it is, league-wide. Another thing they should do, the CFL should strike a deal with Tim Hortons to do CFL cards the way they do hockey cards at the start of the hockey season and say, listen, Tim's, we'll make you a deal at the start of the CFL season. We'll do hockey cards the way that you do NHL, 3 cards a pack, 1 nice one and, two normal ones. And you make 50%. We make 50%. So you make a little money that you weren't necessarily making before, as we didn't have a deal regarding this. And we get a little bit of bump, and more importantly, the CFL gets the exposure. Because here's the thing. Let's assume the CFL sells not a single pack, okay? Let's just say they sell nothing. Well, obviously sell something, but they won't. Let's say they sell nothing. What does the CFL have to gain? How many people go to a Tim Hortons drive-thru? Seriously, every morning, every Tim's in Winnipeg is lining up like crazy. Everywhere, every location. There's massive lines in that drive-thru because everyone's getting their morning coffee. They will see, and if you have the sign the way you do with the NHL, if you have that sign, CFL trading cards and this and that. People be even if they don't buy it, they'll be like, oh yeah, CFL's starting up again. Awareness, exposure. Everyone goes to Tim Hortons in the morning. And even if, maybe you at home don't, you know that I'm not lying when I say that Tim Hortons gets tons and tons of business every morning on their coffee. And so the exposure from that, I think I think the value in that is incredible. I think it's crazy. And I think that there's serious money to be made, and the CFL is dropping the ball by not doing that. I think that's probably the most overlooked way that the CFL can get exposure.
The other thing, and you will know where I'm going with this, is if you're going to have something advertised on TSN, it should be across all cities, not just certain ones, and it should be fair to everyone. Find one place that's all across Canada and go there to enter, not just the West.
And so what are you referring to exactly?
Safe on Foods commercials.
Yeah.
They're contests. You need to have something that the East can benefit from as well.
Well, do you know what I think would also be a very good thing? One of the things that
bring back kick for a million with Wendy's.
Another thing they also do in the NHL is they have their Craft Hockeyville, where they do a lot of encouraging of youth sports, and they do a big competition, and all these local communities, they all bid, they try to do as much as they can to win that, and then eventually they get one NHL game played there, and then the NHL gives them essentially a bunch of money for a new facility. And so I think with the CFL, this would actually be very, very, very doable in the sense of that giving money for a new facility or new equipment is significantly cheaper for football than it is hockey. Whereas with hockey, you got to build a whole arena, you got to build an ice plant, full concrete base, all that sort of stuff. Whereas with a football field, let's say you want to go a nice turf field, it costs you maybe like $50,000-$60,000. That's it. Like that's significantly less for the $500,000 to $1 million that you would pay for an arena, and that's assuming you wanted turf. Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't even want turf, and you just buy them all new equipment and all this sort of stuff, and you work with high schools. I think that gets a lot more. I think you get a lot more attention on the youth. I think it's a charity event. It looks good on the league. And overall, I think there's a net benefit to that, and you get to play one game out there.
But what would you do though? Bring in a bunch of temporary seating?
A little bit, but not too much. Because here's the thing: when they do that NHL game and they play in a small arena, they realistically only fit a few thousand in there anyway.
But then here's the thing: who do you determine who gets first dibs on tickets and who doesn't?
You figure that out. However they do it in the NHL, you can do it similarly.
Yeah, but if you say, just hypothetically, if you have, again, a 5,000 capacity stadium, what are you going to do? Half of it season ticket holders across the league and half of it general public?
You do realize that this might be in a small town, so it really that's what I mean. I don't think you necessarily precedent any season ticket holders. I wouldn't be surprised if the money from that goes straight to the community with teams taking with both teams involved in the game taking a cut. I don't know. There's a lot of ways you can figure that out. I'm not into getting for the specifics. I'm saying all things considered, whether teams take a cut, whether teams get nothing, I think it's a net benefit. I do.
All I gotta say is before we do any of these ideas, we need to have a freaking 10th team before anything.
I wouldn't say before all these ideas.
Because hold on. If you have a 10th team, you have a more balanced schedule, so you don't have three.
That
games,
makes when it comes to messing with games, that makes it a bit easier. However, Tim's CFL cards, we can get that before 10th team.
No, but it's just like more revenue for the owners,
Yeah, they need to figure that out.
more cap space for the teams if you had a 10th team.
Yep.
I just think a 10th team is more important than, no offense, hockey cards.
Not hockey
Well,
cards,
that's
football
just-
cards.
Well,
You know what? I agree in some aspects, in terms of that money stream. However, I do think the general point of that is exposure.
Yes.
General point. The exposure, I think, comes number one before a 10th team, personally.
But I think, Carter, at the end of the day, I think we spent too much time on this video.
Holy crap. We were like, oh yeah, we're not going 30 minutes. And now we're at like the 40-minute mark, 45 minutes, whatever the hell it was. We got real into the thick of it. But you know what? Whoever replaces Randy Ambrosie, they got a lot on their plate that they got to deal with. And so hopefully they do whatever's best. They got to get that TV deal. They got to get the CBA. They got to grow the league a lot more than they have done. They got to look at that 10th team possibility and make concrete steps to make that actually happen. They need to promote the league better in general. They need to update the marketing.
If someone's suspended, friggin' throw the book at them.
Yes. Yeah, they need to do more in that regard. Rick, is there anything else we're missing? Or are we wrapping this up?
No, I think we've gone on with this topic long enough.
All right, fair enough. So I hope you all you wonderful people at home enjoyed this very, very long video of two guys yelling at the clouds. And and make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. I told you to earlier, so if you didn't till now, I'm maybe a little bit sad. And then if you're on Spotify, give us 5 stars if you haven't already. And without further ado, peace, love, and positivity to all you wonderful people at home, and I'll see you guys next time.